Ever thought you'd snag a dream motorcycle only to discover it's a ticking time bomb? Let's unmask the worst culprits. Now, buckle up, because these 15 machines are rumored to break your heart and bank long before 50,000 miles. Have you ever looked at a motorcycle and thought, man, that thing could climb Everest? The KTM 790 Adventure sure gives off that vibe with its sleek design, 799 CNC parallel twin engine, and off-road prowess. On paper, it's the motorcycle that wants you to sell your couch, kiss your ordinary life goodbye, and roam the wilderness. But jokes aside, some owners might argue it's more of a high-maintenance travel partner than a bulletproof companion you can ride into the sunset. Let's talk about what makes this bike so tempting. It's relatively light for an adventure machine, which means weaving through traffic or tackling gravel roads can feel like child's play. The suspension is adjustable and impressive. The seat height, while tall for some folks, suits its intended off-road purpose well. Plus, the torque delivery at lower revs can convince you that you're unstoppable, forging rivers and bounding across deserts. So if you're looking at that spec sheet, you might think, yes please. But here's the rub. Reliability gremlins. Many KTM fans say the 790 line from 2018 to 2020 had teething issues, things like oil leaks, a quick shifter that wasn't always so quick, and electronic quirks that made weekend ride plans a bit of a gamble. The general consensus was that you either got a pristine bike that never coughed, or you got one that sneezed its way to the mechanic every few months. Some owners claim they wouldn't count on it hitting 50K without major surgery. KTM has addressed some issues, but the early models bear a reputation for being finicky. If you love a thrill and don't mind an occasionally demanding machine, it might still be a good match. But if you just want to log endless miles trouble-free, you might want to keep your distance. You've probably heard of the Royal Enfield Himalayan, that friendly little adventurer from India that took the world by surprise. Enter the Scram 411, which is basically the Himalayan's rebellious cousin that tries to blend street sensibility with a dash of off-road heritage. It sports the same 4111cc single-cylinder engine, so it's more about torque and ease of use than rocket ship speed. It's also fairly affordable compared to other brands, which can be a huge plus if you're trying to get into the adventure scene without draining your kid's college fund. Now, it's not a total dud. The Scram's upright seating position is downright comfortable, and that easygoing engine can handle everyday commuting without making you break a sweat. Riding around town on it can make you feel like you're king of the urban jungle, and the bike's relatively simple design means maintenance can be less daunting. So why does it land on this list of heartbreakers? The biggest complaints revolve around build quality and longevity. Royal Enfield has improved leaps and bounds in recent years, but certain owners are reporting rust issues and reliability quirks in the early production runs. The bike's air-cooled engine, while charming, can feel understressed in some aspects, but that doesn't always translate into bulletproof reliability. Some folks have grumbled about strange engine noises, minor oil seepage, or electrical gremlins that require more than a casual glance from your local mechanic. Chances are, if you treat it gently and keep a close eye on everything from chain tension to battery terminals, you'll do fine. But if you're hoping to easily surpass that 50,000-mile mark with zero drama, the Scram 411 might not be your favorite chapter in the adventure story. If you're enjoying this content so far, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It doesn't take much, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's take a sharp right turn into the world of sport bikes. Suzuki's GSX-R600 has been a staple at track days and canyon runs, beloved by speed junkies for its responsive 599cc inline-4 engine and nimble chassis. It's known for its race-inspired design, a sweet red line that begs you to rev it till your eardrums vibrate, and a reputation for outpacing traffic so effortlessly you'll think you have a secret warp drive. On the surface, this bike is everything a sport rider craves: sharp handling, significant top-end power, and an iconic silhouette. So, why in the world are we saying don't buy when thousands of riders swear by the GSX-R600? It's not the performance. It's not even the advanced tech, which some say is a tad behind the latest offerings from other Japanese competitors, but still respectable. The real rub is durability. high-strung 600cc sport engines can be temperamental if you're not meticulous with maintenance. You gotta keep valve clearances in check, ensure the cooling system is always in top shape, and avoid the redline mania that can prematurely age the motor. Some folks are reporting that crossing that 50,000-mile threshold can bring on expensive engine problems like excessive oil consumption and worn-out valve train components. Granted, that's fairly common with many high-performance 600s, but the GSX-R600 is notoriously unforgiving if you skip routine TLC. The Husqvarna Norden 901 is that suave Swedish design statement built on a platform shared with its sibling brand KTM. It's an adventure bike with a futuristic look, part spaceship, part rally racer. You look at it and think, this could be the best companion for a round-the-world trip. Riding it can feel like you're sipping premium espresso on a yacht. The 889cc parallel twin engine, borrowed from KTM's 890 series, has plenty of oomph. The bike also boasts top-notch electronics, customizable ride modes, and plush suspension that practically begs to be tested on dusty trails. So what's the problem? Well, as dreamy as the Norden 901 might seem, early adopters have noted random electronical hiccups. Think dash freezing, inconsistent throttle response in certain modes, or quick shifter gremlins. Some have pointed fingers at the brand's integration of advanced technology that might not have been fully ironed out by the time of release. And yes, while it's overshadowed by the brand's rally heritage. Some owners also question its ability to remain trouble-free once you've clocked up serious mileage. Adventure bikes usually rack up miles pretty fast, and if the complexities of the Norden's technology start failing, that 50,000-mile milestone could feel like you're summiting Everest without oxygen. There's also the matter of parts availability and service. If you live in an area where Husqvarna dealers are few and far between, you might be waiting on specialized parts longer than you'd like. Moto Guzzi is the Italian brand that's always had its own whimsical way of doing things. Longitudinal V-twins, shaft drive, and a certain old-world charm that sets them apart. The V100 Mandelo is their modern attempt at marrying Guzzi tradition with cutting-edge technology like adaptive aerodynamics and a new liquid-cooled engine. When you first see this bike, you think, finally, Moto Guzzi has made the leap into the 21st century with style. It's beautiful to look at, and that 1042cc V-twin promises a healthy dose of torque. The Mandelo impresses with features like semi-active suspension, advanced electronic rider aids, and a comfortable riding position that can make you consider cross-country tours. Plus, it has that trademark Guzzi rumble that fans swear is more addictive than the smell of fresh espresso. But once again, there's a catch. Because it's brand spanking new, it's also somewhat unproven in the real world. Early adopters have reported minor electronics gremlins and concerns about the longevity of Guzzi's new liquid-cooled design. Even the advanced adaptive aerodynamics system, which is supposed to adjust winglets and manage wind flow, leaves some riders wondering how well it'll hold up years down the road. Guzzi loyalists will argue this bike's reliability is decent if you keep up with recommended servicing. However, skeptical onlookers claim that the brand's history of unique engineering can sometimes mean unique reliability challenges. With all this new tech packed in, especially in the first couple of production runs, it wouldn't be shocking if the V100 Mandelo meets a few hiccups before it smooths out. If you're itching for an Italian thoroughbred, go for it. But don't bet the farm on it lasting a stress-free 50,000 miles without at least a few costly visits to the shop. Cruisers are supposed to be comfortable, laid-back rides that you can cruise on from coast to coast, right? The Yamaha Star Bolt tries to blend that vibe with a little bit of modern bobber appeal. Powered by a 942cc air-cooled V-twin, it has decent low-end torque and a minimalist look that's reminiscent of certain iconic American cruisers. You might see it and think, hey, that's a solid way to dip my toes into the cruiser world without splurging on a big Harley. While the Bolt has garnered a decent following, some owners have raised eyebrows over its build quality and certain mechanical concerns. For instance, the engine can get rather toasty in stop-and-go traffic, and that air-cooled design relies heavily on consistent airflow. Also, the bike's belt final drive, though typically lauded for being low maintenance, has been known to show premature wear if not carefully adjusted. Combine that with the basic suspension and occasional electrical gremlins, particularly in older models, and you start to see why some folks warn that it might not gracefully hit the 50K milestone. Don't get me wrong, lots of bolts have gone well past that point without imploding. But the uneasy factor is that the ones that do develop issues can be costly to fix. Valve adjustments can be a headache, and if you get unlucky with the belt or the electronics, you could find yourself shelling out more than you bargained for. It's a fun ride for local cruising or short getaways, but if you're aiming to circle the globe, maybe keep your eyes open for something with a better track record. The Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 has been hailed as the bike that put the brand on the modern classics map. You've got a gorgeous retro style, a friendly 648cc parallel twin, and a price tag that's wallet-friendly in comparison to other retro-styled bikes. Many riders love the upright neutral riding position, which can be perfect for daily commutes or Sunday spins through scenic routes. The torque is surprisingly decent for a budget-friendly machine, and the exhaust note can put a grin on your face if you enjoy that old-school rumble. Here's the kicker. The Interceptor 650 is built with a cost-conscious approach. Yes, it's better crafted than some older Enfields, but it still faces niggling issues, particularly once the miles start piling on. Common complaints include rusting hardware, oil leaks, and questionable component quality. The paint might chip sooner than you expect, the foot pegs might rattle a bit more than they should, and the electronics can throw occasional tantrums if you ride in wet conditions frequently. Those who baby their Interceptor might see themselves surpassing 50K miles without catastrophic failure. But if you ride it hard, skip timely oil changes, or push it for extended highway speeds day in and day out, there's a fair chance you'll encounter mechanical gremlins earlier than you'd like. Still, it's undeniably a charming bike that's super approachable. Just don't expect it to be an indestructible mile muncher like some of the more established Japanese competition. Now, Ducati is famous for racing heritage, exotic styling, and that intangible Italian flair. The Diavel, introduced as a power cruiser, blends sport bike DNA with a cruiser-like stance that screams, "I can outdrag your buddy's Corvette, then cruise Main Street in style." The 1262cc Testastretta DVT engine offers a massive surge of torque, and the advanced electronics suite, traction control, riding modes, cornering ABS, aims to keep you from looping yourself into the asphalt. At first ride, it's a thrill. You feel unstoppable, like you're riding the Ferrari of motorcycles. But there's always a but. Ducati maintenance is notoriously expensive. Valve adjustments at relatively short intervals can drain your wallet, and if you skip or delay them, you risk major mechanical heartbreak. While many modern Ducatis have improved in reliability, the Diavel's complex electronics and engine components can become a headache past 30,000 or 40,000 miles. Some owners share stories about random sensor failures, gearbox quirks, and fueling problems that require specialized knowledge to fix. Then there's the question of the desmodromic valve system. Great for performance, but not always the friendliest on your pocket. If you're a meticulous caretaker who loves pampering your bike, the Diavel could run fine for a good long stretch. But if you're hoping it'll last 50K or more with minimal fuss, you might be playing a dangerous game of mechanical roulette. Don't say we didn't warn you when that service bill arrives. CF Moto has been on the rise, catching everyone's attention with budget-friendly motorcycles that pack surprising power and features. The 800T Explore is an adventure bike that aims to challenge established brands by offering a middleweight machine brimming with technology. TFT screen, ride modes, traction control, and a KTM-based 799cc engine, since CF Moto has partnerships with KTM in various markets. At first blush, you might be wowed by how much you get for the price, especially if you're used to seeing similar bikes cost thousands more. But the brand's biggest question mark remains long-term reliability and parts availability. Critics argue that CF Moto's impressive spec sheets sometimes hide underlying quality control issues. While that 799cc parallel twin has proven itself in KTM applications, the overall assembly and finishing might not be up to par with the Austrian standard. Riders have mentioned concerns about spotty wiring, cheaply made switches, and inconsistent weld quality. Also, certain countries have limited dealer networks, so if something does go wrong, you might have to wait a while or settle for aftermarket solutions. If you're the type who loves tinkering and doesn't mind the occasional quirk, the 800 MT Explorer can be a sweet deal. It offers performance that can genuinely surprise you, especially off-road. However, if you're dreaming of effortlessly racking up tens of thousands of miles on cross-continental journeys, it might be worth doing a double take. It has potential, but the brand's track record for high-mile endurance has yet to be firmly established. With that risk in mind, you might want to explore other proven middleweight adventure bikes before rolling the dice. The Kawasaki Ninja 400 might look out of place here. After all, it's typically lauded as the perfect entry-level sport bike with a 399cc parallel twin that's peppy, lightweight, and downright user-friendly. Riders rave about its agile handling, decent fuel economy, and a price tag that doesn't make you run for cover. If you're a new rider or someone who simply loves a smaller displacement machine for daily fun, the Ninja 400 can be a blast, so where's the caveat? Well, small engines that are asked to run at high RPMs constantly, especially if you're highway commuting, can show signs of wear faster than their larger displacement cousins. Some owners push these bikes to their limits, revving them like they're on a racetrack, and that can accelerate internal engine wear. In addition, you often find that new riders don't always keep up with maintenance schedules. That means missed oil changes, neglected chain adjustments, and an overall lack of mechanical sympathy. Those used Ninja 400s on the market, some of them have definitely had a tough life, dropping reliability levels as they approach higher mileage. Sure, you could get lucky and find a meticulously cared-for machine that'll keep humming past 50K. But the odds aren't always in your favor. If you're a brand new rider, the Ninja 400 is still a great option. Just be prepared to pamper it if you want it to avoid the dreaded meltdown in the long run. And if you're looking for a commuter to pile on mile after mile, maybe consider going up a class for a bit more relaxed engine load. BMW's GS line is basically the stuff of legend, those big 1200s and 1250s that circumnavigate the globe in adventure documentaries. But then there's the smaller G310 YGS, which aims to distill that go-anywhere spirit into a compact and more affordable package. It's a cool idea if you want a lighter, more approachable bike that still carries the revered GS badge. The single-cylinder 313cc engine can handle city traffic and mild trails, and you've got that tall stance which does a decent job soaking up bumps. But owners have reported issues ranging from stalling problems to questionable build quality, especially on the early models. Electrical failures and random sensor malfunctions have popped up in online forums, with some complaining that the bike just isn't living up to the GS name in terms of rugged dependability. Service intervals might be simpler for a single cylinder, but if you need a dealership fix, you're still paying for BMW expertise, which can inflate the cost even on a small bike. While some G310 GS owners happily rack up miles and swear by its reliability, others feel the longevity just isn't on par with what the GS legacy suggests. If you keep it for casual weekend rides and treat it gently, it could be fine. But if you plan to hammer out 50K miles of rough trails and punishing commutes, you might be in for an unpleasant surprise. At the end of the day, if you really want a BMW GS that'll go to the ends of the earth, you might want to look at the bigger siblings. This one might spark some serious debate. Harley-Davidson is often considered the quintessential American cruiser brand, and the Street Glide is one of its most iconic models. You've got that Milwaukee 8 engine that rumbles like distant thunder, massive street presence, and a comfort level that's perfect for long highway stretches. Plus, the Street Glide has a rabid fan base that'll defend its honor at all costs. But we're talking about bikes that won't last 50,000 miles without serious headaches. And there have been known reliability gripes. Some Street Glide owners have run into engine oil leaks, transmission troubles, and issues with the infotainment system. Parts are premium priced, and if you're not well versed in the art of Harley maintenance, you can watch your savings evaporate faster than you can say, potato, potato, potato. Add to that the fact that these bikes are heavy and can put stress on components like brakes, suspension, and clutch if you're not riding with mechanical sympathy. Of course, a well-serviced Harley can cruise for a very long time. Many folks have proven that, but stepping into the used market can be risky, especially if the previous owner treated the bike like a bar hopper or neglected the recommended service intervals. Some mechanics will tell you that once that odometer passes a certain point, major repairs might loom. Let's face it, Honda is known for reliability. People often joke you can run a Honda generator underwater and it'll still start on the first pull. So what's the Rebel 1100 doing here? Released as a bigger sibling to the small displacement Rebel series, this cruiser standard hybrid sports a 1084cc parallel twin, borrowed from Honda's Africa Twin. On paper, that's a bulletproof engine with plenty of grunt. The DCT dual-clutch transmission version can be fun and convenient too, making for a relaxed cruiser experience without constantly feathering the clutch. But even the mightiest brands can have outliers. Some owners have reported occasional DCT malfunctions, especially in early production, causing erratic shifting or requiring software updates. There have also been rare complaints about engine vibrations at higher RPM, leading to speculation about long-term wear and tear on internal components. While these might not be widespread issues, they raise eyebrows for a brand that usually sails through reliability tests without drama. Another sticking point for potential longevity is the cramped design for some riders. The forward controls and low seat can lead you to ride with less than ideal posture. This may not directly kill the bike, but it can discourage owners from racking up serious miles if the ergonomics prove uncomfortable on longer trips. If you keep the maintenance religious, there's no reason the Rebel V100 can't survive well past 50K. But that's the secret phrase. If you keep the maintenance religious. Slip up, and you might discover that even Honda can have a meltdown if neglected. The Triumph Bonneville Bobber is a masterclass in retro cool styling. That floating seat, the classic parallel twin engine, and the stripped-down aesthetic can make heads turn wherever you park it. Triumph engineers have done a stellar job balancing modern engineering, liquid cooling, ride-by-wire, with vintage looks. The performance, especially the torque off the line, is enough to make you grin like a kid in a candy store. However, some owners have flagged concerns about long-term reliability, particularly if you use it like a workhorse. Oil leaks have been reported around gasket lines, and occasional electrical issues, like ignition coil failures, aren't unheard of. The Bobber's suspension is somewhat limited in travel, which means riding on rough roads can stress the chassis and components more than on a standard Bonneville T120. And let's not forget that once you start adding accessories or when messing around with the factory setup, you could potentially introduce extra stress points. While plenty of riders achieve respectable mileage, the Bobber's design is primarily aimed at style and short runs. That might be why it's less likely to become someone's 50K mile champion. If you're content with short weekend jaunts and you're prepared to keep an eye on everything under the hood, it might serve you well. But if you're expecting it to be an iron horse for cross-country tours year after year, you might be disappointed. The Honda CRF R450L is like that superhero who's incredibly powerful but has a weakness that only the comic book nerds know about. In this case, the CRF 450L is basically a street-legal off-road weapon, borrowing heavily from Honda's off-road racing lineage. It's lightweight, agile, and can absolutely tear up trails. Enthusiasts love the fact that you can blast through the dirt on Saturday and legally ride to work on Monday, all on the same machine. Here's the catch. The 450cc high-strung motor is built for performance. To keep it street-legal and somewhat user-friendly, Honda toned things down, but it's still basically a race-focused engine at heart. That means frequent oil changes, valve checks, and a wear rate that doesn't really align with forever bike status. Off-road miles are especially brutal on any machine, and if you're truly using the CRF 450L as intended, roosting through mud, climbing rocky hills, don't expect it to remain trouble-free long-term unless you're religious about maintenance. And let's be honest, many of us skip those extra checkups if we're having too much fun on the trails. Some owners have found that after a certain mileage threshold, especially if the bike's been ridden hard, you start looking at piston and ring replacements, top-end rebuilds, or more significant engine refurbishment. That can be costly, and it's a big reason why the CRF 450L might not be your best bet if you dream of a single bike going well past 50,000 miles without major repairs. It's a blast for the right rider. Just don't mistake it for an immortal workhorse that can go toe-to-toe with large displacement dual sports designed for long-haul reliability. Jokes aside, hope you found this video helpful. If you enjoyed it, or if you just like hearing about the nitty-gritty on bikes, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more motorcycle misadventures, comparisons, and deep dives on the way to keep your throttle hand itching for more. Thanks for watching, and until next time, Ride safe and have fun.